I'm actually a water guy. No, a trail normally has a start point and an end point. I think I'll start at the end and just say people might know of the Freedom Challenge as a 2,300 kilometer non-stop unsupported expedition race from Pietermaritzburg to Cape Town that takes place in winter. And there are a lot of stories that I could tell you about that, but I'm not going to do it now. You can watch the slides while I talk about other things. It's a trail that can be ridden at any time, so people might know it. Some people have toured on it. And in addition, there are a lot of things that happen along that trail. So if I just look at what's happened in the last 2-3 weeks, we had the Ride to Roads on the trail. On Heritage Day, we hosted the Meckleding Heritage Day horse races, which had probably about 2,000 people there. A lot of people dressed up in blankets, and I saw more dead animals on people's heads in one day than I probably ever hoped to see in my whole life. On the same day as well, what happened was we awarded the Freedom Challenge scholarships for next year. That was a program that started by riders. What happened was we stay in villages as we go along, and some riders wanted to donate a television set to the village, and I suggest that they rather fund a scholarship for a kid from the village to the Mariazell High School. Now that school was set up by Trappist monks about 100 years ago. It's a school that Monsieur Locotta went to. Epinet Mbeki went there, Thabo Mbeki's mother. It's a very well-respected school. And we negotiated with the school that they would take some scholars from along the trail. So as of this year, the riders themselves have raised almost R1 million. We've placed our 16th student in the school. So it's a trail, and a lot of things happen along that trail. So what I want to talk to you about is how that trail started. In about 1990, I was running marathons, and I ran a marathon with a cold, and I ran another marathon with a cold, and the doctor told me I'd never run again, and I should do no further exercise, and I didn't exercise again for almost 10 years. Then my grandfather died, and we lived on a farm looking over the Umkomaas Valley, a place called Allendale, which cyclists stop at now. And I went up for his funeral, and at his funeral I decided that as a tribute to him, I would come back and run the Comrades the following year, and I'd try and run it every year thereafter. And it would also force me to go back there, which was really the countryside of my youth and people I knew there. So I started and I ran Comrades, and I would go and do my training on Table Mountain, and I got quite into trail running, and I ran 2 Comrades. And then I was in Australia, in Western Australia, and I saw a map of Western Australia, and I saw the Canning Cattle Trail, which runs across about 4,000 kilometers across Western Australia. I think it's called Through the Great Open Desert or whatever it's called. And I looked at them and thought, well, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to run? And then while I was thinking, that got me thinking. On the flight back, I thought, no, we must be able to do something like that in South Africa, surely. So I then decided that I would run up to Comrades. And quite stupidly, I told somebody that I was going to do it. And, once you say these things, you're committed to them. So I then set about planning. And basically, my plan was I took a road map, I drew a line between Maritzburg and Cape Town, and then I set certain principles for myself. The first principle was I'd go on public roads, public rights of way. I didn't want to have to ask for traversing permissions. Second thing was I'd get as far off tar as possible. The result was I ran out of Cape Town on Milnerton Beach. I went on the Swellendam hiking trail to get over towards Montague into the Little Karoo because I didn't want to go through Kochman's Kloof. The whole route came together for me when I found out about the route known as the ladder, which drops into the Gamkes Kloof, because then I could link the Little Karoo with the Great Karoo without having to go on dirt roads. And so the other thing was I insisted on going through conservation areas if there were conservation areas. So I climbed the fence into the back of the Mountain Zebra National Park, and so it continued. So I got up to Pietermaritzburg with 2 days to spare before Comrades. I had run an average of 58 kilometers a day, 42 days of running. I would run 7 days and take 1 day off. And I had a bet going with my brother that I wouldn't get there in time. It was a case of very nice, expensive single malt whiskey. He lost the bet. I offered him double or quits. And so it came around that the following year we ran the Comrades. The next day we got on mountain bikes. I hadn't been on a bike for 20 years. I didn't know about stuff called lube. I bought sewing machine oil in Janssenville, which was past halfway. And at about that point, a farmer gave me tire liners to line my tires. I also must confess that the first puncture I had was on day 4, and the woman who was riding with me had to fix it for me. So that's really what happened. Then we got down to Paarl, and we got down with 2 days to spare, and then we did the Berg River Canoe Marathon. And I'd never paddled in my life before that. I'd done 1 river race before I did the Berg, but we got to the end of the Berg and we got given our blankets. And it's those blankets that everybody who does the Freedom Challenge, if you get to the finish, it doesn't matter whether you come first or you finish within the 26-day cutoff, that's what you get. And so it has developed as a trail. And the joy of the Freedom Challenge and the trail is it's a transect through the country. We've got a very diverse country, and it becomes a very easy way of understanding the country. So it goes through 6 plant biomes. The guy who rode with me the first time said he was convinced, in fact it was on ar.co.za website, he blogged the fact that he was convinced that I'd looked for the 15 most spectacular parts of the country, and I'd found 10 of them and linked them all together, and it really does offer you that sort of spectacular beauty. But it's a way of also understanding this country. You know, you can ride it from the Drakensberg through the Drakensberg basalts, through the whole of geological time. You go down, you end up in the Cape Fold mountain ranges. So you can look at the geology of it. There are meteorite sites along the route, which we've identified. One can look at paleontology of this country just riding that trail. You know, we've got it so far that, you know, within about a kilometre, I can identify where the dinosaurs lived and where they didn't live. So we can identify the Permian-Triassic boundary. In terms of the archaeology along the trail, there's a vast amount of archaeology. If I can stop for a moment and just talk about my T-shirt. It's a picture of an eland being a symbol of power. People might know of the Linton panel, which sits in the Zico Museum. It's if I can call it a tableau, it's about 2.5 meters long, about 1 meter high, with rock paintings. And basically what happens is, on that, people might not know the tableau, but you would know the figures in the coats of arms. And those figures in the coats of arms, they come off that tableau, and as does this. So we felt it was the right place to go and look for it. But there are other things about it as well. You know, you engage with communities, you're staying with communities, and with that, what you do is you get an opportunity to engage with South Africa, the people of South Africa, but more importantly, you get an opportunity to engage with yourself. So thank you very much.